Welcome to Base Mtaani. I'm your guy Festus the Poet. Na leo niko na mambo moto hatari sana hapa. As you can see, niko na wakurugenzi hatari. Niko na aspirant senator mwenyewe anaitwa Wambogo Nyamu. See you somewhere. Atuko hapa njia hiyo. On my right side niko na kijana chupavu, kijana barabara. Najua naweza sema hamumuoni lakini ndio huyu hapa. Anaitwa, he goes by the name Dabalin, rais wa vijana. On my back, as you can see, huko nyuma, my backbenchers, niko pia na vijana hatari. On my left side, huko nyuma, niko na Emifas Mushangi. Mushangi, nimempata poa, kaka? Iko salama. On my right side, niko na kijana mwenyewe CEO, B4M Studio. Na usisahau tuko hapa, kata si ya B4M TV, the biggest online TV, ama ukipenda YouTube TV in Mount Kenya region, kata si ya Vifoka, ama ukipenda Village Food Cafe, kwa ushirikiano na Bakufu Empire. Kabisa, na leo topic ya leo, it's very simple. As you know, my people, cost ya living Kenya imekuwa high. Na that's why niko na wase wako high in kudiscuss such issues. Na ndio sana nataka kuwakaribisha. First of all, nitaanza na we go with the rank. Niko na dadi hapa hatari sana. Ana jintroduce.
Mr. Boy unafanya kazi wapi?
Unafanya kazi gani sasa?
Kwa majina naitwa Wambogo Nyamu na I'm the proprietor of Vicas Technologies, Dexter College, Betna Grains, Robust Flora, and Linus Bobrick. And I'm stationed in Kemao. My franchise business, the manufacturing of speed governors and tracking devices and electronic components. That is my franchise business, and I'm stationed in Yeri.
I thank you so much, Mr. Wambogo. On my right side, kijana introduce. Nimepiga jina yako, wamesema bado hawajakuona. Ongea sasa.
Najua mnaniona chuki tu hiyo. Mimi naitwa Vincent Dabalin. Mimi ni mzaliwa kijana ambaye amelelewa majengo ya Nyeri, na kulingana na ile environment ambayo nimelelewa nayo, mimi kazi yangu kubwa sana mimi hufanya charity. Najua mmekuwa mkiona pale mtandaoni kijana ametengeneza Ngara Slum Schools pale. So basically hizo ndio vitu mimi hufanya mtaani sana sana na kuanga Nairobi.
Kabisa. Asante sana Mr. Dabalin. Na nikigeuka hivi naenda the DJ of the day, Emifas Mushangi. Jintroduce kaka.
Wenye umesikia jina ni Emifas Mushangi. Unajua alianza na kusema tunaanza na rank. Short people lives matter. Tunaonewa sana. Lakini naitwa Emifas Mushangi, founder Wera Space. Wera Space ni co-working space, iko based Nyeri. Aim yetu ya hiyo co-working space ilikuwa create a space that is safe for youth entrepreneurs. Place watu wanaweza, vijana wanaweza kuwa wanaongea. Like unajua kila mtu anauliza go Dublin business nakupelekaje, unasema iko fiti. But reality oje tutalipaje rent. So ile space tulikuwa to create a safe space. Number 1 ni affordable kwa youth. Number 2 tunataka ku create space my youth wanaweza kuona kama wanaongea. Na hata mkisikia nikiongea sheng, nikifika kwa boardroom nitaongea kizungu, lakini nikiongea na vijana nitabonga sheng. But anyway, Wera Space, mimi founder wa Wera Space plus niko na kampuni nyingine inaitwa The Online Workshop. The Online Workshop ni a 360 digital marketing agency. Inamaanisha tuna handle kutengeneza websites, kufanya Google business listing, anything that works with Google, anything that works on digital platforms. So kama uko na kampuni na hauna online presence, hiyo ndio ile kazi tunafanya.
Thank you so much Mr. Emifas Mushangi. As our viewers umesikia Kenya anadu na what how wageni wangu wanafanya. Now let me pose this question to Mr. Wambogo because already amesha venture into business. Nataka anieleze right now, is it the same venye ulianza biashara na kijana mdogo akitaka kuanza biashara right now?
I don't know what I would say, but over history I've been in business. I left university when I was 22 and a half years, and immediately I ventured into business. One, I would say hakuna kitu imebadilika. Zile challenges nilipata nikiwa kijana naonaga tu bado ziko na wale vijana wako sahihi. Ile kitu inafanyika ni sisi tunaamini, nyinyi vijana mnaamini ati mambo zamani ilikuwaga better. Haikuwa better. In fact, ukiniuliza generation yenu mambo ni better. Na nitakwambia ni kwa nini.
Tueleze ni kwa nini.
Nikitoka shule hakukuwa mahali ungepata mkopo. You will not get credit anywhere unless baba yako akupatie pesa ama akupatie shamba, title ya shamba ukakopa pesa loan. Hakukuwa. There was no youth fund, there was no whatever, there was no uwezo, there was nothing. Ni wewe unatoka tu, unaenda unajitegemea. Na wazazi wetu, hakuna mzazi wa baba yangu akakupatia title at the age of 23 ukaanzisha sana. So wakati tulipotoka shule, kwa sababu sisi ndio tulikuwa group ya kwanza, penye the first group serikali iliacha kuemploy immediately umetoka university, we had to go the hard way. So we had to start. Actually, the first business I started with 500 shillings back in 1991. So now, right now, the environment is actually better than when we were young people your age. Yeah.
So in simple terms, unasema, as in right now, to start a business is so easy.
Why?
As compared to your times.
Why? Because there are places you can go, form a group, go as a group, borrow money, and you're given money. In our time, there was nothing like that. In fact, I remember the first fund that came through the government in 1994, ilikuwa inaitwa Enterprise Fund. Ilikuwa inapatianwa na ma-DC, those kind of days. Ilikuwa inapatianwa na relatives na kadhalika. Na ilipatianwa, I think, miezi 6 ikaisha. There was nowhere as a young man you would get credit. It's either your father gives you or you hustle it your own way. Now, because some of us didn't come from rich families, we hustled it our own way. I started my business when I left university. I had savings of, we used to be paid when we were in university. We used to be paid to read. Actually, we used to be paid. We used to be given 50-40 per semester, and there was free food. There was free 5,040. And there was free food. There was free accommodation. And I remember, because those days I used to drink the Amatite Tola. Those days a Tusker used to be 7 shillings and 85 cents. So you can compare the value of the money today. It's about 30 times. So what I'm saying is, it was more difficult, and we had to start very low. Actually, me, I started as a hawker, socks, shilling tano. There was no other way. So I survived on savings, and I remember I used to save 30 shillings a day. 30 shillings a day. That is what I used to save. It was a lot of money. Zabu chapati madodo was actually 10 bob. So it was a lot of money. That is what I used to save. And then now I moved from now Juakali selling socks. I started manufacturing paint. So these days, to me, I find it a little bit easier to start a business than when it was our age. Number two, that time the economy was so small. We are talking about an economy whose total budget was 240 billion, the whole country. We are talking about an economy now. We are talking about an economy with a budget of 3 trillion. You know, the levels of income, when the levels in those days, a graduate teacher used to earn 4,000 shillings. So it was low. So actually today, I find it a little bit easier to start business because I know how the things that are there than that time.
Festo, kuna kitu naweza sema. Yes, we may say it's easier, but I think we have so many youth in this room. But if we may ask ourselves, how many of you here have benefited from youth fund? You know, youth fund is there, yes, a very good idea. But the policies governing that youth fund are hectic. You know, I've tried, before I even started the issue of even having an idea of B4M, I went there. You know, it's very hard. Come on, you are an employer, you know that. It's very hard to get a good worker, true or false. So, how do you expect now to get 10 people who think like you to get 50K for a start? You see, that one challenge. Two, yes, I would say it's a bit easier because we even have internet. You can start your business from home. But still, it's a different situation. It's still hard because no bank. We made up equity. Nikaongea na manager. Nikaambia, I want 30K for a computer. Akaniambia, I would really have to because nimesikia idea yako, but siwezi. Why? Because your bank statement ziko baya. Nikaenda youth fund. Akaniambia, mimi niko na idea, I want 30K. And I can guarantee if you give me 30K, I'll do it. I'll bring money with interest. Akaniambia siwezi. Why? Akaniambia because we need you in a group. You can have a group. tukapata hata certificate. Tukienda kufikiria mambo ya loan ika collapse. Na nikatoka hapo. Sasa stop. So nikaona like I don't have an option. After I started without no laptop. Mimi nikaenda mtu sijui nikamwambia like I want a laptop to do this and this. Akaniambia you want a laptop? I know you are afraid. I will give you a laptop. Within the 1 month I had made money to buy my own computer. Ile tu ningepewa na government sikupewa. Unaona? So what is happening is yes we have better
ways of starting a business,
but you see the government is have a very good ideas, but the implementation watu wamelala. Hiyo ndio
Can I first of all answer BM? First of all, I want to congratulate you. Because the first time you took me some photos in 2017, you were in a very dingy place. I can say you are growing.
Of course.
That's what business is all about. It's resilience and persistence.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I have encountered the same with some people even here. They have tried to get that money and they have not. And it's an issue of leadership. But you see, you are the problem in leadership. Because you employ you elect popular people who will come and talk a lot of black things in studios.
Yeah.
But you don't look at the track history of the people you elect.
That's the point.
Because if you elect people who just talk, if you elect entrepreneurs, all they know is going for government tenders and favoritism. But how many of you have ever voted for a businessman who has grown and has given you a history of how I grew up from zero to the top? I would say this, I know there is that challenge, and I've been challenging even leaders here on the Weather Fund, on Youth Fund, and I think he's a witness, telling them the kind of restrictions you are putting are so hard.
Yeah.
Let's try to soften them up. But you see now that is an issue of the implementation of the government policy.
Yeah.
Now, since the government are civil servants, who is the other government who is supposed to take care of you? It's the elected leaders. So if you want this money available to you, because it is a lot, and if you wanted to follow the protocols it follows, if you wanted to be such that there is no favoritism, then the first person you need to elect is an MP who knows what all entrepreneurship is all about. It's a governor who understands what's in entrepreneurship. It's not you guys praising Maram and Tamak everywhere like it's what is development. Infrastructure is good, yes, but what is infrastructure for? It is supposed to be a facilitator to economic development. Yeah. One of the biggest challenges we have is working capital, and I agree. It's working capital. But then, do you exploit all the available opportunities we have? The other opportunity cost would be, can I start with what I have and I grow because I can't get what I don't have? You told me you went and borrowed somebody's laptop and you grew, and that's why I congratulated you, because I know now where you are and I can see the kind of equipment you have. And actually the most important thing about entrepreneurship is self-belief. It's self-belief. Study your subject well. I'm going to start this. Have you even looked at the competition in the market? Have you done a cost analysis? Have you done a cash flow for the next 3 years? Have you looked at it at the competition? How much of the research have you done into that business that you're venturing into? Or are you doing it because your neighbor is doing it? Do you know how your neighbor got his money? Do you even know whether the neighbor depends on that business or not? And number two, it is when you start, 9 out of every 10 businesses that start, they die. Why? I'll tell you, if you go to commerce, if you have 100,000, don't dare start a business with 100,000. If you have 100,000, start your business, plan for a business of 50,000. Because 70% of that total money normally goes to logistics. Mtu anafanya namna hii, unaenda kufungua duka, unataka kuuza duka. So ile kitu kwanza kitu unanunua mchele, unanunua sukari, unanunua unga, si ndio? Hizo ndio unanunua. Customer wa kwanza anakuitisha shindano. Wa pili anakuitisha kichanuo. Hata za nimeitisha kichanuo sina. Pesa yote ile 100,000 uliweka. So now you start now selling this to get that. So there's some acumen in business that you try to do. That's what I'm telling you. If you have 50,000, plan for a business of 25,000. Do your stock for 25,000, have the other 25,000 and stock. And even now, how we survive in business? Because now, things are very difficult. Like now the business I do manufacturing. We can't get components in the whole world. So what you normally do is that we are surviving on the savings we made over time. So that little money you start with, plan your life. If you're earning 5,000 or you're earning 10,000, why do you want to stay in a house of 7,000? So the end of the game is business grows by savings. And if you plan your business to grow by loans, you will always falter. You will always falter. So it's all said and done is we need to have that belief. And lastly, is that we have to have perseverance. You persevere in that business. Actually, the first 1 year in business, hautengenezi pesa. Na ile uliweka 50% ndio itakuweka usurvive. Because you still need to do it. So you took 100. So ile 50% uliweka. As you try to plan, look for customers, get your own ways, ile ndio inakuwa backup yako. So you're able to persevere as you look for clients and customers. And lastly is consistency. You know, unaanzisha kidogo, shida imeisha, umeacha hiyo, umeanzisha ingine. Even before you learn the ropes of that business, umeenda ingine. That consistency, ukae tu hapo tu. Let me tell you, there's no business you can't grow. The problem with us, we give up very fast. I'll give you an example. When I started manufacturing speed governors, Michoke, the former Michoke refused to give me a license. And he said, an African, specifically from Nyeri, cannot manufacture speed governor. Those days, they used to come from Britain and Germany and Japan. And actually, he didn't give me. And I persevered. And there was a minister called Morongaro that time. I could not find him. You know, he was very high. So there was a man who had a hotel at the stage here. I knew he was just fine.
Wait. Does it mean that there was a time you were an underdog?
Yeah. But you see, it's my courage. I went to those offices and faced them with my courage. And I told Morongaro, I have these licenses. And Michoke refused to give me these licenses. You are the only minister I can come to in Nyeri. The former mayor Wajagi is the person I went to. And then look at the document, he told me, you don't have all these documents, I'll give you the license. You know, that courage and that persistency and consistency in what you're doing is what builds a business. And let me tell you, you will never make money the first 1 year unless you're stealing. You start making money from your fruit of business maybe from the second year. And there is no way you are going to start a business and be a millionaire unless you are doing crooked business. If you are doing formal business, I've never done government tenders. If you want to do right business, you give yourself by the third year, that is the time you start seeing the fruit of your business. You get it? Most of the people I started business with, like I remember I started tea business with some friends of mine from Nakuru. But the first year they were complaining, we are not making money, we are not making money, we are not making money, we are not making money. So that is key. It is not even so much about money. It's about that self-belief. And lastly, because we were on the issue of the things are a little bit better, I said that, he said, you know. Let me tell you, in those days, the spectrum that you could do business was a little bit. Because our economy was so small. And then comes the big load. In fact, when we came to Nyeri, I think we could see maybe 3 or 4 cars around. Now, where we are now, the economy is bigger. The incomes are bigger. The opportunities are bigger. Yeah? And the other fourth thing I forgot, be adventurous. Mostly the young men. I would forgive the ladies because they can't take risks. I remember one time as a young man, I went to work somewhere called in Mutomo. I went to do business somewhere called Mutomo. You know where Mutomo is? It is 90 kilometers from Kitui town, and there used to be transport once in a week. And we could venture out.
In a no man's land, away from the family.
But there was money. Actually, where I saw a lot of money was in Kakamega those days. And I was among the first people to sell potatoes in Kakamega market. So what I'm saying is, now the environment is better. We are in the era of internet. You can source. When I started manufacturing governors, only one person used to sell components in Kenya. I think when I to a Mundi that was in Little Avenue. There was nobody else. He was the only person who could sell. If you wanted to get things from China, you had to write a letter. You go to the embassy, get the faxes, send a fax. You ask the embassy, can I get the list of the companies in your country that sell this? You go through the list, you send a fax, or you write a letter, and then you wait for it. Today, as a young man, you can sell anything in the world. You go into the internet, you can source anything in the world and sell. So actually, the business environment today is better for you at your age in 20s and 30s than it was for us in our 20s and 30s. Ours was quite difficult.
Thank you so much,
Festus.
Mheshimiwa. Let me before you talk, Mr. Before, let me give Mr. Emifas Mushangi an opportunity to talk. Because still anakuwa ventured into business, yes?
Kidogo tu. Tuende break kidogo. Director ananiambia tuende break kidogo. Yeah.
So
1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're viewing us from, this is 5 minutes. Oh no. This is Base Mtaani. Hapa Before studio. Na nakwambia tena na tena tuko hapa courtesy of Before kama ukipenda Village Food Cafe, Back of Empire na Groove Masters. Na kwa ushirikiano na Before TV. Wacha tuende break kidogo tupate kopo la uji. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Base Mtaani. Na tunaendelea tu fast because of time. Before I give Emifas Mushangi an opportunity to talk about, to discuss about the topic that you have in today. Mr. Before, you told me that you have a question.
Yeah.
Unataka kupost kwa Mr. Emifas.
Yeah, you see,
like ajibu na akisema what he feels like.
Actually, I will connect back to whatever I said. Like, yes, we can say it's better. Actually, I would agree on that. But the dynamics are the same. Like, we are still struggling. And Emifas,
yes.
I've done a research of you kidogo.
Okay.
Na lazima nifanye research ya mtu anakuja kwa sababu tunajua ni nani hasa. You know, I would say you are among the best when it comes to technology hapa. Juu hata mimi IT yangu si ni ya kujifunza. So, there's a question I asked another day when I had a discussion here a few weeks ago. Okay. The issue is now we can say like you see like the youth fund. I'm sure umeanza biashara hata unajua I'm 100% sure we'll benefit from it.
True.
We are so much on technology currently.
Yes.
We have M-Shwari on our phone. M-Pesa. Nani hapa ana M-Pesa? Kila mtu ana M-Pesa?
Kila mtu ako nayo.
That's the question now.
Okay.
We have M-Pesas. But when can we have youth fund on our M-Pesa ama kama M-Shwari hivyo tunakopa?
It's a good question.
Eh?
Okay, I'll start with that question. I will say there was something that was said. I do not want to put these words as if they are mine. It's somebody had said. You remember a while back when Kenya was doing Huduma Card? If government policies worked perfectly, Huduma Card was a great idea. Because what Huduma Card will have done would have been like Social Security. Social Security knows everything about you. Everything about you is in one card. So we know exactly where to get you. So unaona hata hizo loans zenye tunapeaga za banks with very high interest rates. Tulikuwa tunafanya ingine tunaona it's like 84% annually. So if you take 10,000 at the end of the year you pay 400. That's a lot of money. But with the Huduma Card, if that had worked, I do not know the plan that was there. But if that had worked, that would have meant these companies have security to know exactly how they are going to get you. So right now ukichukua hiyo loan unalipiaga mle msi hata lipa. Ndio maana interest iko high. So if government policies were to work, that will work perfectly. And what we are saying, these loans should come directly to our M-Pesa accounts. But now, as somebody told me before, government is not like private sector. We do not make decisions the way we want to make decisions.
Then why don't we elect people who can make decisions like that?
Who can make those decisions?
Yeah.
So,
because that's the only problem. Mshaki kitu moja hapa. Kidogo tu.
Yes.
Shida yetu ni hii.
Okay.
Na Wabogo wamesema hapa.
Yes.
We have one problem. Sisi tunatoka 500. Unaanza kusema hapa. Kaese ni Wabogo nyama nipe 500. Tazama Wabogo nyama.
Yes.
Instead you see like, the problem with us youth we have even in inferiority complex.
Unajua root problem haiko kwa hiyo 500 Wabogo nyama watanipatia. Root problem iko kwangu.
Yeah, true.
Like technically that 500 what it does for me is so much no Mbogo nyamo ni sevia wangu. Problem haiko kwa hiyo 500 napewa. Shida iko kwa ile economical status as young people tuko ndani that unaona 500 is so much money that this person is my savior. So problem is not the money we get and problem is not us. It's the economical status that we are in. And as I will agree with Mr. Mbogo Nyamo.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, muulize.
I will ask you a question like this. If you get that 500,
Yes.
have you written a contract with that person that you must elect him?
No.
I have not written a contract
So
with
you
that
can make
person.
you can make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I say decision making
Yeah.
is what is eating this country.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Let's first I'll go back to what you said. Business nowadays is better and everything. I will say, as you said, business currently is komsa. Your days economy was kidogo, akukuwa na loans, Right now, starting a business is easy. Nikiingia Huduma Center nafungua business, I will open a company. But what does it take to run a business in this economy? Starting a business is easy. Anybody can. My youth wengi wako na business names huku, wako na companies. But what does it take to run a business?
I also think, Mr. Before you continue, I also think my youth tuko na pupa ya kuanza kitu hatujaelewa. You see, tunakimbilia juu venye Mr. Wabogonyamo alisema, nimesikia hivi fasa amepiga Wera Space na naona inamuingizia kakitu. Na kimbia pia pale nijaribu. I'm not there because I have the passion about the Wera Space.
You have not researched.
Yeah, I've not researched about it. Yani, let me say it in Kikuyu or in French. Tunaruta Wera or uota ilimo. Yani we're doing something out of juu nimesikia kakadabalini. He's doing something na inampea kitu. I just want to venture in.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
Those people have come to my place wanting to start business. There's a business plan I normally give them. The KIA business plan. And KIA business plan, it takes care of those loopholes. It will first of all ask you, who are your competitors? How are you going to compete with them? Because that planning level of a business is what matters. And like I said, the situation has been the same. So that element of research, I'm in business. I ventured into a business that was not there in Kenya. And you know, internet came in 2006.
Yeah.
And that time, it was landline. Unafungua kitu ya 2 Mbps, unaifungua saa moja, inafunguka saa 9 ya usiku. But we still managed to go into technology. You're saying you're in technology.
Yes.
The first time I started my governor, people who could do coding for firmware were not there.
Okay.
But you see, I didn't give up. I went to all the universities looking for somebody who could write a code for me and convert my analog gadget into a digital gadget. Actually, I went to all the universities. All of them. Because
Usituaibishe hapa
the technology was not high. It was low. That time it was coming.
Oh.
The digital technology actually came there. So what am I trying to say is that element of research and subject knowledge of the business you are going into is key to your success. Even when you go there, how much deeper do you go into research? Like me in my place, I am the CEO, I have workers. I don't work. My work is just research. I don't do anything else. I research on where to get commodities. I research on where to get cheaper inputs. I research on where to get good market. I research on my technology, and I know my technology. And my line, I did Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, and I do electronic manufacturing. I do research on that, and I spend my time, my free time. He knows. You find me in my computer, I'm not on Facebook. Actually, I only go to Facebook at night. I only go to social media no. Nafikaka nyumbani saa 2, naenda mpaka saa 3, nazima, naona news, naenda kulala. So I normally go to social media for 1 hour, asubuhi between 6 and 7. So most of the other time, I spend researching on my business. I start studying my competition. I know my competition. I look at the weaknesses of my competition. And that is why I am the oldest speed governor, manufacturer, and fitter in this country. The Chinese came. They could not remove me out of the market. I studied my market well. I know what is in Kakamega. I know what is in Uganda. It's me who does that. So that is my work. So in that business you are, like now B4 is here. And I can see he has opened a studio. It is his responsibility to look at the competition, study, improvise, and see how he can become better. That is how you succeed in business. It's not a matter of opening a shop. Like Makara is selling shoes, so he sells the shoes. It is responsibility to look for the newest fashion in the market at the affordable price and look at the competition in town and how the competition is selling and how he's going to be the competition. That is how you succeed in business.
Right, thank you so much, Mr. Wambogo. Now, let me take you back to Mr. Bifan. Mr. Bifan, you had something that you wanted to say. Kindly, the platform is yours, sir.
You see, like, we are more like discussing how challenges of business rather than discussing the cost of business.
The cost of business. Yeah.
But I will just summarize on this. The problem with Kenya is the people, the youth who are literate, are behaving like fools.
True, kabisa.
Because if we have bad leaders, hawakujichagua. We need to ask ourselves. Ukipewa 500 kula, make decision on your own.
Kabisa.
Hakuna contract mtu amekusaidia. Unaona?
Mheshimiwa amesema.
Because we are the people like saizi if today I was to attack the governor, let's say just I will give an example. The people who will fight me is not the governor. True. My fellow people. Why can't we have people of my age becoming the governor or becoming the MP?
Let me ask you a question. Before, let me cut you a little bit short. So, for example, I'm fighting Wambogo Nyamo. It does not mean my ideology is right. So, me fighting you is not because I'm fighting you because I'm fighting for him. That is not okay. I'm talking of, it's not for everyone. At times, your ideology and my ideology do not meet.
Yeah.
So you might be fighting something that I think is good. So of course I'll defend it because I think it's good. Then on the other part of the 500, there's something me have learned about the market. I will not argue with Mr. Mbogenyamo. He's been in business longer than me, but there's something I know, and this is why money works in politics. You know, right now venye tunakaga tunajuaga tunataka kila kitu omo because they have done their marketing right. So these politicians comes with money. What they do is they ensure jina yao liko kwa mdomo ya kila mtu, and that is marketing. They've done their marketing right. So it's not that ndamvutia juu hiyo 500 amenipatia, but he has done his marketing right. He knows my problem is no, he knows my current problem right now is 500. He solved it. He's done his marketing right. So I'm not advising young people to vote for people who are giving them money. I advocate for you to vote for the right leaders, and that is very true. But
can I ask a question?
Before you
ask.
ask, let me give Dabalin an opportunity to.
Finally, you've rescued me.
I want to ask him because he's defending a lot of things which I am against.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that.
Okay.
Just hold on your questions. Mr. Dublin.
Yes, please.
Calvin. No, Mr. Dublin. What's your take on this? Yeah? Is it easy sahi kuanzisha biashara kama kijana, ama do you feel it's very very difficult?
Shika zote.
Ambia hii ina credit ama unashika zote.
Sawa.
What do you think? What's your take on that?
So Festus, kitu ya kwanza asante sana. Watu wameongea sana. Nimeongoja unifikie. Festus, hizi maswali mimi nitachanganya Sheng na Kiingereza.
It's good, it's good.
Si ni sawa sawa. Festus, najua unaongea out of experience. Hizo maswali ambazo unauliza ni vitu ambazo umepitia wewe mwenyewe. Unajua vitu ambazo young entrepreneur anapitia to come up with a business. Mimi ni victim.
Hebu angalia mic, hiyo mic. Direct anasema kama iko off. Yeah.
Mimi ni victim wa hizi costs high ambazo zimeintroduciwa kwa msee akitaka kuanza biashara. Tushairegister biashara, tushairegister kampuni inaitwa DSF, na wewe ni mmoja wao na unaelewa vile kulienda. Na Wambogo ni one of our clients as much as as much as anatetea sana the other side. Yeye ndiye alikuwa mmoja wa clients wetu, na yeye is among the persons that believed in us.
And I paid you.
Yes.
And you say I don't want to pay.
Yes,
you paid.
Siku hii mheshimiwa kidogo tu. So, wacha tuseme ukweli. Wakati wa Mbogonyamo walikuwa shule, university, ametuambia vizuri walikuwa wanalipwa angalau shilingi 1500
na 40 bob.
Na 40 bob juu, na ilikuwa pesa mingi. Kwa pesa mingi sana. Saa hii mtoto akienda university, si mlinipeleka university nyinyi, Mbogonyamo ndio mmoja wao. Mlinipeleka university mkaniacha huko, mkasema kijana wewe fika huko kula mawe sasa wewe jileni. Si sawa sawa? Kijana ukifika kule hakuna ile pesa ambayo unapewa. Kitu ambayo mtoto anatokanga nayo university ni degree, shida mingi na deni.
Kweli.
Ni sawa sawa? Mimi nimetoka university na deni ya shilingi 1250. Sawa sawa? Ile pesa yote na sijaanza maisha, tayari nishatoka na deni ya serikali. Ni sawa sawa? Nikija huku nje najikaza, nafanya piga mjengo ama napiga shughuli yoyote yenye nataka kupiga, napata do kidogo, nataka kuanzisha biashara. Hiyo pesa kidogo ambayo nimepata Festus, napitia process kubwa sana kuregister ile kampuni. Na idea ni yangu, unajua watu wanakujanga na idea tofauti. Maybe ya MFAS ni tuseme ni ya technology. Yeye anahitaji machine, net. Unaona?
Check on the mic sir.
Okay. Yeye anahitaji machine, net na vitu vidogo vidogo. Sisi tulipokuja na idea yetu, mimi I believed in it kabisa. And you believed in it equally. Ilikuwa the best. According to me, ilikuwa the best idea nilikuwa nayo ever. Kitu ambayo ningekuwa na do ningeinacha, sasa hizi ingekuwa isha grow Nyeri town na kila mtu angekuwa anatoka about it. Ni kweli? Lakini singeweza kuendelea na ile dream kwa sababu cost ya kurun ile kampuni yetu ilikuwa so high. Lazima kwanza ningewacha nikimbilie kwa charity society yone nafanya kitu kidogo. Isionekane yule kijana aliela akazoa degree na akarudi nyumbani kulala pale majengo na vijana wengine. Si kweli? Lazima ufanye kitu kuwe productive. So zile costs wacha tukubaliane tu. Zile costs ni mingi sana na zinasuffocate ule kijana ambaye ako pale chini. Ambaye anataka kujiamsha.
So according to you, na feel government imeweka a lot of burden to people who are starting new businesses.
Festus nikaoja kwa ukinisikiza. Ni kweli kabisa serikali imeoverburden ule kijana mdogo. Ule mtu ambaye hata si kijana, hata kuna wazee ambao pia wao wanaanza biashara. Unajua ukiwa a young entrepreneur, imani wewe ni mgeni kwa entrepreneurship. Yes. Kwa hivyo kama zile costs ni high za kustart biashara, it apply to everybody. Whether you're old or young.
Kabisa. Now let me give Mr. Wambogo. Wambogo. Sanisha sitaki kuita
you let me comment on what you said first. The Berlin will tell you this. Is that the cost of doing business has affected everybody.
Yeah.
And some of them are even derived by the county government. The other day I was looking at it, is that I get my own plot, I build, and the county government of Nyeri is demanding 12,000 for me every month to pay for rent for land it doesn't own. It also tells me to pay for the license. The national government wants a part of my land rate. And the most difficult thing is there are so many indirect taxes that we are having in this country.
True.
The cost of fuel alone is so exorbitant that his cost of going to do business in Nakuru or Kisumu becomes high because the fares comes high. But then how do you mitigate that? This is where governance comes in. This is where leadership comes in. And I will still insist, what we are having today as leadership and governance is one thing. Right from the top, downwards. Number two, I am a follower of the social media. All these problems that you are talking about, you are raising them here. In social media, you talk about UDA and Jubilee, morning to evening, Ruto, Raila, morning to evening. Can you start advocating for those same problems you have in tea? Let me tell you, I won the war on tea. I won the war on coffee. I am not even elected. Actually, I was a pure activist, making noise in social media, radios, until the president had me. Makara will tell you, Wanjal will tell you. Politics, I joined the Democratic Party to make noise for the farmers. I'm not elected. Now, you, the youth, with all those issues you're talking about, changing the youth fund or the Uwezo fund to go to the fund, it only needs a simple act of parliament and simple majority, and the law is passed. Have you gone to Gojiri to tell him that? Have you gone to Geshoi to tell him that? So can you as youth go to the social media and advocate for what you want and stop petty politics of hustler, ODM and all that? Look at it. Because that advocacy is what will make them listen. But the politicians won't listen to you because all that you talk about is Ruto, Raila, Hustler, Jubilee, all that. You know what I'm saying? Why are you hearing what I'm saying? You can change leadership not only during the election time, you can modify leadership by advocacy in that social media where every politician is. You can agree. Like now you are a group. You start saying, when we were launching the song for Samolinia, I asked the musician, in Nyeri, you are 2,200 in Nyeri Musician Network. How many subscribers do you require in your YouTube to get paid by Google?
1K.
And these are how many musicians? Why can't each musician subscribe for the other one so that you can reach the 100? Like he said, jealousy.
Jealousy, true.
You see, and I raised that issue and they were there. And in fact, I gave one lady the job to be doing that. I've given 3 people, I will not mention them here. Can you go and organize for that? Musicians, are you being paid by the government? No, you are actors. We have actors here. We have people who do all those kind of things. That is an avenue that would give you money. When it comes now to marketing your own products, when Hasi says it's Hasi market, you do nothing. When Itube says it's Itube market, you start writing about Uda.
So can you be advocates of your issues in the market? On the cost of business, it's very high. Actually, it's hurting us. It is so hurting right now, electricity. Like now, they increase the cost of internet. I was paying 22,000 for my 5 Mbps direct. Now I'm paying 36,000. It impacts on my business. But now, who do I expect them to talk for me? You should be the people talking for your fathers, because you are the warriors for the fathers. Number 2, petrol. Why is petrol raising and you're talking about Hustler and UDA and Jubilee and Raila and Ruto? If all of you are in social media now telling the government you are fed up, reduce the cost, because they are reducing the cost to get money so that they can service their corruption. Because what is eating this country is corruption. Are you people, let me tell you, until the youth of this country stand firm and fight corruption in this country, you will complain until you are 54 like me and until you are 70. Lastly, you are the people who are propagating corruption and growing it and saying, we don't care as long as there is money. To reduce the cost of business, we have to cut off misuse of our public resources. I'll tell you one thing, and this is the last one. I worked with the government for 14 years. I was an AIE holder. You know, as an AIE holder, is a signatory to the government money. And I can tell you without any benefit of doubt that 40% of the money we budget for is stolen by greedy civil servants and political leaders. Now, who will stop that so that the government stops borrowing a lot of money? You know, now it is hitting us. Like now, we can't sleep because of KRI. Yeah. I'm telling you, they call every day. Kabisa. Unapigwa Nakuru, Nairobi, hujalipa. Now, if you look at the amount of money that we are getting lost in corruption, if we can stop that, the cost of petrol will come down. Isn't it? Sure. The government will reduce the taxes because they are stealing less and now we need money to run the government. So that is a solution we can undertake without necessarily going to the ballot if all of us rise up and fight stealing of your money and your father's money.
But you know, the problem with the youth is, let me comment something before you do. The problem with the youth is, kina first mimi, doubling nani. Tukianza ku raise that issue, Mr. Mbogo Nyamu jua naona anafektiwa na issue na investors. Come this way. Tuongee kidogo. Na sisi because we are stupid.
Self-belief. Do you believe in it?
Do you believe it? Now, let me pass it to Mr. Dabadi.
Yes, I wanted to comment on Senator's sentiments. Senator has given a very good solution to our problems. Very good, and I'm not going to question or to talk about it again. But again, Senator has been our mentor for some time. Na kuna wakati ametusaidia sana kuingia kwa leadership space. Sawa. Now we've been fighting for Wanjiko's right for some time back there. And we really fought, and so many things were put in line. We fought for this. As much as anacheka, you know, Bauga ati. So wanasema tutakuwa tumbo empty. Unaona sisi tunakuwa na kitero mingi sana zuri. Wanasema huyo ni njaa inamsumbua, vuta yeye kando. Wewe Festus leo ukipigwa ngiri 10 na huko utakubali? Ama utasema bwana mimi nilimsafi? As even let me talk about this Festus because this is the point I'm trying to break home. That as much as kuna hizi shida Festus, ule youth hawezi kosa kuchukua ile shilingi 500 aende kucomment. Now, Senator, when you're talking about us commenting about UDA and Hustler Nation and all that, I believe you're addressing the youths, the youths when you want to, because they stop making political comments on the I've discovered that. What I'm trying to say is, these people, how are they pesa? The problem is money. That money, they need to eat. They need to do this. And njia yenyewe wanaweza pata hiyo pesa rahisi. Wapi? Zero political comments.
Hiyo mic inasikia iko na shida from the director. Haya.
Director. Sawa Festus. So to mitigate this problem, kitu ya kwanza, these people need to have money in their pockets. The other day, Senator, this you will clarify for us. I heard that I introduced the Irish potatoes regulations. Uliona hiyo? To start a business at your own farm, ukitaka kuenda kupanda at your own farm, wanakufikia huko. Yeah? Tutatoa pesa wapi? Unaona, as much as watu wana make hizi youths tumelala, we are not doing this, we are not doing, but we need to put money in our pockets first. This is the only way wanaweza pata hiyo pesa rahisi.
I also
Festo,
yeah.
I just want to talk about the youth kidogo. Mr. Wera Space ama Mshangi. Yes. Sio kama umeandika watu. Umeandika watu. Sema yes. I just want you to say yes.
Yes.
Juu mimi kuna kitu moja, youth, I would say youth, we are our own enemies. Before we even complain about the government is failing us, yes, but we are own enemies. Ulisema mambo ya masomo. Let me tell you one thing. Tumia I agree, like, hata at university. Kosa kazi ni sawa. Tumia, hakuna kitu mzuri kama masomo kama uko nayo. The only problem we have as youth is nimesoma sana, siwezi fanya kazi ya mjeko, siwezi fanya kazi sijui ya nini, because I have like about 10 youth nimeandika. Na kuna place nimefika nikasema, should I even cause all this my business waende nyumbani? Because the problem we have is, one, I have a problem of capital. Kitambo, I thought capital was the biggest charity in Kenya. No, it is not.
It's not.
It's my fellow youth. Unaona? Juu shida yetu ni moja. Ukiandika mtu anafanya kazi kama hataki kufanya kazi, wengine wanakataa kazi. So as much as we may say like hakuna option, ni sisi wenyewe bado tumekataa. Tu pesa kula kama unapewa, hata mimi ukinipenda kula. Hakuna mtu apendi pesa. Nani apendi pesa hapa?
Sawa, tunapenda pesa.
So you see, like, you all have money. So chukua pesa yako kwa mfuko, wewe vote na akili yako, acha kuvote na tubo. So the other thing is, sisi we only talk about wheelbarrows. Yes, wheelbarrows are good. I have been using it for kazi ya mjego. Hata I made by 20k na mjego. So nilitumia wheelbarrows sikatai. Two, ukiangalia watu wale wakauda Jubilee NASA, they are the same monkeys, different suits.
Ukweli.
You can comment one day and go on. Because kuna kitu hapa sida nimekwambia bwana, hatuwezi weka youth fund kwa kama mshwari. Unaona? Bona hii youth fund ni spare mtu kama mimi. Unajua like the funny thing is, nienda mara kwanza wakaniambia hatuwezi kupe pesa uko kwa group. Ngoja nimalize. Haya, nikaenda tena nikamwambia sasa mimi niko na bank statement kwa sana. Wakaniambia your bank statement says that you should not get youth fund. Statement zako si hii pesa si ya youth fund.
No, another thing, yeah. Mr. Before, unaona mimi nitasema hii kwa mbele ya kamera. Mimi alisema tushaijaribu kwenda kutafuta youth fund. Na unaambiwa ukipewa hiyo youth fund you give me my card. Na sasa hiyo mwenye anakupushia ni mwenye anasema nataka kukusaidia. Tutasaidika aje sisi?
That's time it always comes to me. This man has a point which I want to talk. He has one very important point. When he says the youth have no money and however much they would try, not everybody is a businessman. Let's agree. Not everybody is made to be a business person.
True.
Not everybody has the acumen for business. And that is a fact. So we can't tell all the youth to do business. Now here comes the other challenge. What is job creation? Job creation is the deliberate policy that comes with the government, so that you create opportunities for employment, so that you employ as many young people as possible, because not everybody can be a businessman. So however much you talk about the youth fund, not everybody who goes to youth fund and gets that money is made for the material for business. So how do we sort that one out? If you look at what I've been advocating of recent, is the setting up of industries in our county. In fact, I'll be in KBC on Thursday, and we're talking about now the setting up of the cottage industries and the industries in our rural areas. We're not talking about every young man setting a cottage industry, because they don't have the ability to do that. We are talking about having an environment and a policy framework that will make this businessman, because he's a businessman, because he has been in this, at least I know him for the last 6 years. How do we make him grow? How do we have the environment for him to grow so that he can employ another 20 young men who can get money and do other things? Even those young men you employ, not all of them can be businessmen. I have some young men in my place who have stayed there for 14 years. Then they are made for employment. And they are very good employees. They solve all my problems. But no, they can't all of them be. So what we need to do as a nation, this is where leadership comes in. And that is why I said, we are coming next year. Elect people who will be able to sort out your current problems and the problems of your younger brothers to come and your children by having a framework that will enable job creation such that when he leaves university, he doesn't have to go and struggle. All of us cannot fit in Mujengo. Because how many Mujengos are there in Nyeri? And how many youth are there? All of us cannot be hawkers.
True.
You know, so how do we sort that?
let us take an example of our county because this is where we live. How many industries, you know, big ones, other than the tea industries? The 5 of them.
Let me just cut you short.
Yeah.
Mr. Director is telling me our time is up. But we're coming back again. True, Mr. Director? We're coming. Do something. Just hold it right there, viewers. We're coming back. Mr. Obogonyamo.
So what I was saying, the Berlin has a point. Because what the government needs to do is those people who are in business and are successful, create an environment for them so that they can employ as many graduates as possible. I'll give you an example for myself. The kind of manufacturing of the things I do. If today the government taxed the imported governors from China, the way I pay taxes in Kenya will be balanced. I pay the same way they are paying. They pay the same way I'm paying. I would beat them in technology and I would double, triple the young people I have employed. Does the government protect the local industries? It doesn't. Do they create business? They don't. So at the end of the day, young people will not have money. They will continue complaining and they will be victims of politicians. And politicians wanted, the politicians wanted that way.
Yeah.
So the decision is yours.
It's ours, in fact. Yeah. So let me give Mr. Dabali to answer Mr. B4M before I pass it to B4M. We're concluding our viewers. Yeah, Mr. Dabali, what do you want to say?
I wanted to B4M said about youths being the problem. I want to tell B4M that we don't employ people. Just you don't just create employment to employ just anybody. You employ competent workers. Okay, you don't just employ anybody. We employ people because they are fit to be employed, because they can deliver, because they can do,
what is expected.
Yes, what is expected of them. Okay, that is one. Second, Mr. Wambogonyamo has said that we need to change the conversation now. Stop talking about politics every time. Start talking about things, matters that affect our lives directly.
Daily.
Yeah. So let us force these politicians to be leaders and not do politics every time.
Set the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, kabisa, this is Kererembe being fire.
Yeah.
Mr. B4M.
Before that, stop saying first thing. Can you be the politician first? That's okay.
I'm talking
You
of.
see, you cannot only force. You see, the only way to make policies in Kenya right now, let's have the right people. Like whenever it's an industry, of course, I'm make sure like politicians make industry better. So then, you see, come away. I don't know what is stopping you to become an MCA. It's cannot become an MCA. You see, that's a problem because this one we get each other. And you go be about stop. Me and find issue up. Even my friend not share because we have problem of jealousy.
Jealousy.
I cannot share a friend because one of I have bed.
Hata kusubscribe.
Hata kusubscribe.
Let me tell you one thing. Mimi kuna kitu kimenikasirika sana sasa hivi. I started by saying because we have a necklace. I made my necklace because of food. And I had the same problem. Unatengeneza necklace ya Kenya inakuwa bei ya import. Unaona? Because our Kenyan government is doing it in the market. Actually, we should even encourage banking because I think we are the Kenyan people who smoke banking. That's why? Because you see, we think like we can become. How can we become rich by being a consumer?
You cannot be.
You cannot.
Yeah.
True.
You have to be a producer.
If biashara no mwandari, how can we create employment? Not everyone is made for to be an entrepreneur. Mimi nimekuwa nimeandika watu 10 na wanazungua kichwa mpaka na fake. Nauliza my friend, I'm sure hapo kuna pesa mengi na watu wakazi.
Hii inakuwa kawaida.
Sasa mbona we need
Hata tumezoea.
issues because to even the capital is the government is useless. We need to ask ourselves. We need to change almost everything right now because we need to push for group esteem like Japan to do. Stop thinking about self-interest. You stop thinking, you look at the society at large. And that's the problem we have. Because many Kenyans are not pesa, niende.
I think that's
the problem. So, summarizing, let's say this. One, we don't have unified. Why?
The fund for me. Listen, me, I find youth fund as a scam, and I'm not afraid saying that.
You know why?
Mimi I find it as a scam because simply nikitaka hiyo youth fund lazima I tip someone ati ili nipate hiyo pesa na wananipea 50,000, I give them 25,000. Which business will I
Festus, the solution is simple, and you've been told we stop electing politicians. Let us give leaders their mandate. Yes.
Now,
From
as we conclude, you are doing but you know why? First of all, look at we are even nominating. The government nominated fools as you, so that they continue nominating us, and we support them. So unasema nini huyu bottom up, ukiangalia vizuri kabisa hata unasema bottom up hata hii
kweli
hata pengine anasema haji
unasema muda ni mzuri sikatai, but the problem is who are
benefiting in that order. You know one of them. Yeah.
walikuwa Jubilee, walikuwa PNU, same thing. Unaona, mimi kuna mtu ananiambia but we even think we have a choice of voting, but we have two parties that we think those are the only two parties can give us leaders. We have illusion of choice, we don't. Because if the only person you think this Kenya can make us better, if you think like NASA, if you think to be able to change us, if you think Uda will change us,
which means they are all there for their personal interest. Hawa watu wote tumechagua, wengi wao, sisemi wote, wengi wao wako pale due to personal benefit. So it's up to us as we conclude.
Yeah,
it is up to us, Mr. Tuingie kwa hiyo nyumba. Sema kitu Mr. Emifas.
So for me as I conclude, I've seen kila mtu hapa hivi ako na joto, una push. So I'll be the ulem say. So number one, I'll say it's about time. I agree with all of you. It's about time we push for policies to change. Like for example, I was seeing Youth Fund was giving money for people to act, but you only had to act. They will not fund you if you say, I want to do a YouTube series. They want to fund you if you're going to do a VCD, a DVD, if you're going to take it to TV. But the reality is, if you look at Netflix, if you look at, okay, I do not know about brand or anything. I'm not sure if I'm going to mentioning it is wrong. But I will say, if you look at somebody like Njoro Wauba, started as a YouTube series, now it's moved to something bigger. So it's about time. I totally agree with you. It's about time we push for policies to change. The other thing I'm going to say, going to agree with Mr. Mbogo Nyamo, it's about time as young people, we do a lot of research. For example, I'll say, Youth Fund is not the only avenue you can be able to get your money from. Look at, if you're getting into business, how does the private sector look like? For example, me, I'll say, I've not benefited from Youth Fund. I will say honestly, from the stories I've heard from my fellow youths, I didn't even apply for it. But what I've done, I've looked at the private sector at large. So, what I could have approached from the private sector is KNCCI, Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industrialization. I'm sure a lot of you do not know, and this is another problem I want to mention. Advocacy from those people themselves, they need to get this information out there. For example, KNCCI was giving out loans, interest-free, collateral-free. I've benefited twice. You are given that you want 200, you return that you want 200, they give it to you again. Collateral-free, interest-free, na inakuja kwa M-Pesa. So, the reason I'm talking about research is, if you're in business, you need to do research about the business you are getting into and the opportunities that are there. Usiangalia, oh, government has done this, imenifungia hapa, so I cannot move, I give up. Look for other avenues. So I totally agree with him on research. The other thing I'm going to say is, as young people, and then the other thing is, trust me, your friends, your family, this is something I've learned in business. They owe you nothing. No, let's not say at Junime put out content, you have to share it. You owe me nothing. My content might be bad. I agree. Unaweza kuwa si kila hata maselebote, kuna watu wanachukia a certain musician. Wanasema music yake ni mbaya and everything. But there are people who like that kind of music. So usiingie kwa business thinking, my friends, oh, they are going to support me, they owe me. They owe you nothing. And do not claim at wanafaa. They owe you nothing. So if you are getting into business, do not think you are going to leverage your friends, leverage the connections you have for business. Ingia kwa biashara ukijua, like everybody is a stranger. And for me in business, I'm also sure for you, the people that trusted in you were strangers. They didn't even know you. Okay, shout out to my friends who have supported me. I'm not rushing, but all I'm saying is they supported me because they wanted to, not because they owed it to me. So, same way, the leaders we have technically are a reflection of the people we are. And it's not an issue with our generation. Angalia, the leaders who have been there, let me mention names. But let me mention names. James Orengo was there. Back then, during his youth, alikuwa anateta. Right now he's in government, doing the same things those politicians who are there were doing. It's not a problem with our generation.
It's a problem that has been there.
It's a problem with the system.
Yes.
The system.
It has been a problem with all the youth of the generation.
As I've been told before, you get into government with a brilliant idea. I was listening to a podcast and Big Ted was talking. He went into government thinking, I have all these brilliant ideas. I am going to change things. Then he got there and then he met people who know the system. So akamwambia kijana relax. Hii maneno ni pole pole ngoja utasoma. So for me, I do not really think it's a problem with our generation. It's not that our generation is not doing enough. It's not that our generation is not trying. But we have like a lot of things to beat. Mr. Ombogo Nyambo here has been in business for over 20 years. The things affecting him are the same things that are affecting us. True. So let's not talk about that our generation is stupid, we are making stupid choices. No, our generation, I think actually our generation is doing amazing. All we do not have is, number one, we do not have the right policies in place. Juzi niliona, I'm not racist, but I'm going to say, a white person came to Kenya and said, aliangalia kaona online, hakuna mtu anauza cheap food. Started an application. Do you know how much money he got from outside? 50 million USD. But your 50 million USD sahi. Whichever business you are getting into, trust me. But tunasema hapo, me got into aerospace thinking, number one, mimi simwambia nilingia na idea kusupport my youth, tusupportiane. So the people who are employed were youths. Wakaniambia hapa tukafanya renovations office. Hii renovation 2 weeks tumemaliza hiyo story. 3 months down the line nili have kuambia niaje nimebaki na pesa yenu, but then nilibaki na pesa 1500. So ikanyaga kwa ofisi yangu tena out. That is what happened. So if, and as Larry Madowo put it in an article, there is money for business, just not for black people. So ukiangalia venture capitalist firms that are, ama uangalie top 10 ama top 20 entrepreneurs in Kenya, the businesses started, niambe ni ngapi utapata a Kenyan? Because number one, our system does not support us. Policies that exist do not support us. And then the other thing is the people in power do not understand the industry as it is right now. So for example, the business I'm in, I even find it hard with clients. Anataka kuja kufanyiwa Facebook, advertising and everything. To him, anajua, all I'm doing is posting on Facebook. The moment I tell them how much I charge, kuna client aliniuliza, kupost Facebook peke yake? But in reality, I'm not doing what you are doing. I'm running a Facebook page. I have a lot of things. Kuna watu hata wajui Facebook page inakuwaga na, you need to look for keywords. You need to do competitor analysis. Ujue kenye competitor anafanya. Wanafikiria all I have to do is sit down, post on Facebook and that's it. So the people in power do not understand the industry as it is right now, and a lot of things have changed. Mr. Ombogo Nyambo was saying you cannot make money the first year in business. May have people who are kutoka walingia campus wamekuwa wakifanya academic writing. Najua nitapigwa kuhusu academic writing, but I'll say it. Wamekuwa wakifanya academic writing and it has made them money. As in bora uko na laptop, uko na access to internet, you can be able to make money. And that has happened. But now this is the policies that are there. Government is doing Ajira, very good program that is training people on transcription and other jobs. But entry level jobs, like the easiest place, I am, and a young person is looking to make money. You're not looking even at, right now, mimi naangalia kaenda kula leo. Siangalia tif story na 5 years. Ndaangalia 5 years after nimejua nitakula leo, nitalipa rent. I'll be able to look at 5 years. So, government says academic writing is unethical. So it cannot train on academic writing. I totally agree because on ethical and unethical things, I always argue na morals. But reality is, hapo ndio a lot of young people wanaanzaga. So this is what you do. Support these young people, meanza academic writing. Explain to them, hakuna penye academic writing inaweza kupeleka in future. Look at ABCD. Ingia this field. Ingia this field. But understand where they are coming from. So, as my conclusion is, yes, let's advocate for better policies. Let's vote for better leaders. And then the last thing is, when it comes to advocating for the right leaders, my ideology and yours might differ. It does not mean we do not have the best interest of our future at hand. It's just that ideologies differ. I'll talk about a fellow youth who is actually in this room. Just a minute as I finish. A fellow youth who is in this room. We argued a while back. There was an event that was done, there was a goat race, and brought a lot of pressure. Money was spent on a goat race. But I supported it. So a lot of people say they supported an avenue that money was lost and everything. But I'll tell you, look at Turkana, they do a camel derby. Look at Lamu, they do a donkey derby. And it brings a lot of tourists to their counties. So the conversation we're supposed to be having is, yes, I agree, goat race was maybe a bad idea. But because our county does not recognize goats, we recognize cows, we recognize hens. Let's argue on that part. Do not argue on part of ideologies might differ, does not mean we do not have the best interests at heart.
Thank you sana Mr. Emifas Mushangi. That's Emifas anaongea hapo. Good points kabisa, and because this thing cannot end today. We have already surpassed time.
Can I just say one thing about what you are saying? Those who have done sociology, human beings are categorized. At the top there, you have the innovators. At the bottom there, you have the laggards. The purpose of actually most of the help that is there in policies, they are normally not for the innovators. Innovators are able to go around everything and come out. Unfortunately, not all of us are at that level of innovators. And leadership mostly is not for the innovators. Actually, if you ask me the purpose of the government, I'll tell you it is a bother to me. Taxes, the only thing I need from the government is security. But for the majority of the human beings, they are down there. They need the government. They need leadership, because government is about leadership. Like I have been saying, these government services are for the masses. If you come from a rich family, you don't need the Uwezo Fund. You don't need even the youth fund. So the youth fund is not for those who come from the bigger families. It is for those who come from the lower families. Unfortunately, most of our families in this country, they are below the poverty line. So we need the government services. We need leadership to uplift. Let's look at China. And I'm not going to talk so much about that. When we had the Tiananmen Square riots in 1989, China was a second world country. The leadership in that country was retrogressive. China was a communism. They changed the leadership after that. They brought in capitalism. Nobody should cheat you. China is worse capitalist than Kenya. The spaces were open. And these people said, we have to lift our masses from poverty. They lifted more than 600 million people from poverty. If you go to China, the Juakali in China, they don't pay taxes. Actually, it's because sasa COVID imekuja, we don't buy things from the big shops. Tunaendaka huko Juakali ya China, sasa kama Grogon. People there don't pay anything. So as they grow, the government taxes the upper bracket. But then in China, you die. Yeah. So it's leadership that uplifts the masses. It is the innovative leadership that uplifts the masses from poverty. And lastly, I'll give you an example. Why have I been fighting for the tea and the coffee farmers and the milk farmers? I'll give you an example. If today the level of income of that tea farmer shot from 50 shillings per kg to 100 shillings per kg, and his cost of production is 40 shillings per kg, he has 60 shillings disposable income, which he will come with to the streets of Nyeri to look for a phone, to look for a shoe. Makara will benefit, you will benefit for your marketing and all that. All that system is what we call governance. And I'm sorry, I've been in business for the last 32 years. I'm looking at where we are heading in this country and the kind of leadership we are praising, and I'm saying all the way we are headed for doom. It's a high time you youth helped one another in identifying leadership that will uplift the masses. In Singapore, today in Singapore, 90% of the people own homes. Malaysia, it didn't come from you working hard or getting Uwezo Fund. It was a deliberate government policy. When Uhuru talked about the G4 housing, everybody said it's not workable. That is the model that built up Malaysia. It is the model that built up Singapore. When he talked about industrialization and Agenda 4, you started talking about BBI. And let me tell you, you have fought BBI so much, I don't even talk about it. Have you ever read BBI? No. Because this is what I talk about. Researching is an example of giving. It is researching on what subject you have in politics. BBI was talking about employment. It was talking about industrialization. We are not going to enrich. The young men are not going to get money until we venture into industrialization. We become the producers. The innovators like us, we move up. In housing, if you have to come out for that mass housing, that construction job now will not be about kazi ya mkono, it will be subcontract. So let us always look at the policies holistically. Let's stop this euphoria of politics that huyu amesema kila mtu atafanya. Who will do that? The people who change a nation, and I repeat, it's not going to be my generation. True. Lastly, last one. Yeah. When multi-party came, it is not the old people who fought for it. I was a member of Mwakenya. Sabasaba, I was the first person kufika pale Kamukunji. It was my youth day. It is us who fought as our youth for the change of this country. Now we have democracy. Who is going to fight for the economic space of the youth? Who is going to fight for the change of policies so that the youth can get opportunity to build themselves? Who is going to fight for investment to come to this country so that those youth who are not businessmen can get employment and also build rental houses because they don't need business acumen? Who is going to do that? In 2022, 72% of the voters will be below 35. Tell them to do research. Tell them to elect leaders who will uplift the masses from
the poverty.
The masses from
poverty level. Now, thank you so much, Mr. Senator. As we conclude, according to me, nikifanya conclusion yangu, I think government iko na shida simply because huwezi elect mtu amefanya catering aende aka supervise barabara. That's what our government inafanyaga. True. Mr. Wambogo, siwezi kuambia uende supervise kitu yenye hujasomea. You know nothing about it. Sindio? Unapata wa government wanapea watu wenye, yani wacha tu niache kwenda hapo juu itaanza kuwa rise tena. Let us just conclude this. As we conclude, do you have anything to say, Mr. Befam, before atujamaliza haiwezi isha, by the way. Another 2 hours ama more than 2 hours. Another episode. We need to discuss. Yeah. So, out there our viewers, nilikuwa hapa, I'm honored manze kuhost Mr. Wambogo, Senator CEO mwenyewe pale Ecas Technologies, kijana aspirant pale Ngara Ward, anataka kusimama MCA, na kijana innovator hatari sana. He goes by the name Emifas Moshangi, and walikuwa hapa B4M studio, ama ukipenda B4M TV. Hii ni TV ambayo it's an online TV yenye inapiga show hatari sana in Mount Kenya region. Don't forget that we're here courtesy of Bakufu Empire, before kama ukipenda Village Food Cafe, kwa ushirikiano na Groove Masters. Without much ado, I can say adios amigos. Thank you.